Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, March 10th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect warmer weather with a high of 82 degrees under mostly cloudy skies in San Antonio today. Texas Governor Greg Abbott's executive order rescinding all COVID-19 related restrictions takes effect today. But the city of Austin is flouting the governor's orders and will continue to require residents to wear masks. Texas is a year away from its March primary elections, and there's already plenty of chatter that Governor Greg Abbott could face his first challenge from the right after only token opposition in his past two campaigns. We have some of the names that keep coming up over at expressnews.com. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. A 58-page report released Tuesday by the Eyes of Texas Historical Committee concluded the University of Texas alma mater song contains no racist intent, though it includes historical ties to minstrel shows and includes lyrics inspired by a former university president's admiration for Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The University of Texas President Jay Hartzell and Dr. Richard Reddick, Associate Dean for Equity, Community Engagement and Outreach in the College of Education, took part in a 35-minute Zoom question and answer with reporters from around the state. You can find a sampling of their answers about the song over at expressnews.com, while sports columnist Mike Finger writes, quote, "The situation is no different now after the release of the committee's report than it was last fall." You can read his latest column for a look at what happens next over on our website. Governor Greg Abbott visited the U.S.-Mexico border Tuesday and accused the Biden administration of inviting a wave of new migrant crossings and causing a health and security crisis in Texas. Quote, "It is clear they are completely unprepared for what is going on at the border now," Abbott said of the administration, "and they're going to be even more unprepared for what will be happening in the coming months." The governor's aerial tour and meetings with Border Patrol came as Republicans ramp up their efforts to pin the influx on President Joe Biden's shift away from Trump-era immigration restrictions. Even some Democrats along the border have warned of emerging crisis. Check out what experts are saying about the situation and where apprehension numbers stand over on our website. As the coronavirus roared through Texas last spring, H-E-B sought out distributors of surface cleaning products to meet unprecedented demand from its customers. H-E-B says it struck a deal in July with a Beaumont company to supply the San Antonio grocery chain hundreds of thousands of canisters of BioErase antimicrobial surface wipes. The arrangement quickly deteriorated, however, with the grocer alleging Maverick International Limited failed to deliver the quantities ordered and missed deadlines. H-E-B is now suing Maverick for breaking its purchase order agreement and seeks more than $1 million in damages. Patrick Danner has the full story in his latest article. In San Antonio City Council elections, 11 candidates are competing for the seat vacated by a term-limited Shirley Gonzalez. District 5 is home to the Westside's historic Alazan Courts, which the San Antonio Housing Authority plans to redevelop. Columnist Gilbert Garcia writes, quote, "All kinds of logistical questions remain. Where will the funding come from? Where will residents stay while their units are rebuilt? How long will the process take? For District 5 candidates, the issues underpinning the Alazan Courts debate are fundamental to the district they hope to represent. Much bigger than the 501 units the complex holds or the 33 acres on which it stands." Head over to expressnews.com to read Gilbert Garcia's full column. Texas's COVID restrictions end today, including the statewide mask mandate and limits on business occupancy. Governor Greg Abbott announced last week that he would open Texas 100%, rescinding his earlier executive orders intended to slow the spread of COVID-19. That means there will be no longer any operating limits for businesses or other establishments, and local governments and law enforcement officers cannot force a person to wear a mask in public. The changes come with a few caveats. We have everything you need to know over at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. The $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package the House plans to send to President Joe Biden's desk for his signature on Wednesday is expected to be a big boost for the poorest in the nation, and it could be especially significant in Texas. 6 more Bexar County residents have died of COVID-19, according to health officials on Tuesday. At the same time, health data showed that the virus's grip on the region has continued to weaken. Officials reported 171 new coronavirus cases on Tuesday. Bexar County officials, recognizing that a lot of people are still suffering from a lack of running water from last month's winter storm, have gone into the plumbing assistant business. Commissioner's Court on Tuesday selected a prime contractor for the county's I Need a Plumber program to help residents with broken pipes. The Alamo Citizen Advisory Committee met for the first time in 6 months, hoping to resurrect a public-private endeavor to accurately tell the history of the mission and the battle site while staying true to the site's role as the heart of downtown San Antonio. If Jalen McKee Rodriguez emerges victorious from the crowded District 2 City Council race, the Madison High School math teacher will be the first ever openly gay councilman in San Antonio. He was a guest on this week's episode of the Express News' Puro Politics podcast. The San Antonio Express News is inviting high schoolers from across San Antonio and surrounding areas to apply for our newly launched Teen Team, a group of students who will get a close-up view of what it's like to work as a journalist. Find out how to apply over at expressnews.com. Some courtrooms on the 4th floor of the Cadena Reeves Justice Center and the Bexar County District Attorney's Office on the 5th floor above sustained the most damage from last month's winter storm. Carpeting and files were left sopping wet, and some furniture was destroyed. As CPS Energy wrestles with more than $1 billion in debt from last month's winter storm, credit rating agencies are getting nervous about the utility's financial health. Fitch Ratings cut CPS's bond rating, and both Fitch and Moody's Investor Services changed their outlook for the city-owned utility from stable to negative. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has called on the state grid manager and regulators to correct a pricing error that the state's market watchdog says cost Texans some $16 billion during the recent power crisis. As hotel owners grapple with empty rooms and people struggle with a shortage of low-priced housing, investors are snapping up distressed inns and converting them into apartments. One company bought a former Ramada hotel in New Braunfels and is interested in eventually expanding to other Texas cities, including San Antonio. There's always money out there to fund your creative ideas. Kickstarter is 12 years old and going strong, business columnist Michael Taylor writes, adding, quote, "It forever enhanced my Pi Day celebrations." Last month's blackout has generated many questions about the Texas electricity market, and for good reason. The state's grid is a complicated beast and puts competition above reliability. Chris Tomlinson answers readers' questions on the topic over at expressnews.com. Brandon Lingo writes, quote, "A few weeks ago, our 16-year-old son Casey brought home a brand new turntable. The sleek machine, black with a brushed gold tone arm and switches, is the first working record player to grace our home. Casey's purchase surprised me because he hadn't said anything about being interested in vinyl outside of buying a handful of 50s and 60s albums from an Arizona thrift store last summer because they, quote, looked cool. Read the full story in our latest collaboration with Report for America for more on the feeling you can't get from a virtual or streaming album." Pork on pork with cheese, pickles, and mustard stacked between slabs of squishy pressed bread. There are a few sandwiches out there more perfect than a good Cubano, and one new operation has taken that Caribbean classic and turned it to the most puro San Antonio version you'll find. You can read more in Paul Stevens' latest article. The San Antonio Symphonies 2021 through 2022 classical season will start later than usual in hopes that the pandemic's grip will have loosened enough for concerts to be staged more like they were before COVID. Check out the schedule over on our website. The San Antonio Book Festival will be presenting more than 200 authors from all over the country, including such big names as Sandra Cisneros, Walter Isaacson, Nick Stone, and Kristen Hanna. The free festival takes place next month. After 4 record-breaking years, UTSA seniors Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace are looking to taste their first postseason success at this week's Conference USA tournament. COVID-19 remains in the air as Spurs open a frenetic second half with the aim of returning to the playoffs. We have our preview of the second half of the season, which starts tonight in Dallas, over at expressnews.com. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Wednesday, March 10th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.